Hi beautiful souls, welcome back to the channel, Beautiful Awakening with Shantia. In today's reading, we're going to be looking into messages from Source. So I went ahead and I meditated off camera to get the energies for the Oracle cards, and I used a little bit of AI to help me, or a lot of AI I guess, and some other things. And these were the Oracle card designs I came up for your reading. So I have crystals, we're going to pull some Oracle cards, some tarot, and we're going to see whatever wants to come through for you and seeing what message Source has for you today. All right, if you haven't already, go ahead and check out episodes on my other channel. I already mentioned it in my previous Pick a Card reading. I uploaded the Saturn and Pisces Part 2 video. I also uploaded the Game of Karma video for the podcast where I talked about that. If you're interested in those topics, then you can go ahead and look at that. Saturn is transiting through Pisces for it's like a 2 to 3 year period. It'll transit into Aries and then it'll retrograde back into Pisces on October 20th. And I'm also creating shorts, so go ahead and check out my shorts for any kind of shifts and transits that are happening. I like to, if I don't feel like making a 1 hour long or a 30-minute to 1 hour video talking about the transits, and I have probably made a short somewhere talking about it. Okay, so let's just go ahead and dive in and see whatever messages want to come through. And thank you guys so much for being here, for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. Let us move forward. So the inspiration for these Oracle cards was actually Black Mirror season, I think it's season 6. It's either 6 or 7 that I just got done watching. But that was my inspiration for these Oracle card designs, and just along with what I was getting in my meditations as well. So I highly recommend, if you guys haven't checked out Black Mirror and you're looking for a good show to watch, that is one I would highly recommend checking out, because they really dive into the reality. And this season of Black Mirror was all about reality, and it's not talking about anything it's new. It's actually talking about the reality that we currently experience. So if you're interested in that, check that out. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into introducing the groups. So group number 1, you have Recoding. So you have this young woman who looks like she's reprogramming. We'll discuss more of that. Recoding, she's recoding something. Group number 2, you have Captain. So if you look closely here, we got someone who's meditating in a crystal-like, crystallized structure or form in the middle of a frozen tundra. And this is called Captain. And then group number 3, you have the Memento Mori, and then you have this older gentleman here who's holding a notebook. I don't know if that might sound familiar to you guys, the reference there. And he has a skeletal hand. All right, let's go ahead and start your meditation. My arm exercise. All right, here is the singing bow. Okay, group number 1, if you chose Recoding, then we're gonna go ahead and start with you. Hey group number 1, welcome to your reading. All right, so first I'll just go ahead and share with you what I saw in your meditation and why I chose this design for your Oracle card. So in this image, you see this young woman, and it looks like she's just on the computer of some sort, but as you can see behind her, there are images of people. And that's because she's recoding her memories. That was kind of what I was seeing for the meditation here. So it's all about reframing. So recoding is the same thing I'm taking as reframing. I don't know what recoding, if that's like, I'm sure that's probably an actual thing, but I don't know what that actually means in life. Maybe just a code. So the code makes you think of maybe the matrix and makes you think of 0, 1 and how everything is put together in this matrix that we exist in. And the message I was getting from Spirit for this group is that this is the time for you to apply the learnings, and really observe your thoughts, because this is going to shift how you see reality and experience it. And so they really want you to take this time Source wants you, to investigate and to remove bias. So our bias is based off of our character. The character that we play in this world has all of these kind of biases that, okay, I was raised living this kind of life. These were my expectations for what I was going to create. This is what I was going to do with my life. And the recoding process, by reframing and looking at your memories and meditating on your experiences, you'll start to see that everything sort of unfolded in a way that you can use those memories, you can use those experiences, and you can turn your trauma into gold. You can turn your pain into gold. Anything you've ever gone through where you thought you were at a disadvantage, this is the opportunity for you to flip it on its head and see it as an actual advantage in your life. The bias is what creates the imbalance, right? It's a bias, the scale is tilted, and that's where we're seeing things in just one way, like right and wrong, when really everything is just sort of, it is. It exists as it's supposed to. So this is a really beautiful opportunity for you to recode, to look, to reflect, to think about the things you're going through. You can also be experiencing reality right now, and you can just be observing it. What I noticed is that the people in my lives, or the things that I had problems with, they've always existed. They've always been there. And so there are times in my life where I went through certain experiences thinking it was my fault or I did something wrong. But it turns out that, whoever that other person was, they were just playing their character, and they were moving in a certain trajectory based off of their choices and their free will and how they approached it. And I noticed that I honestly didn't really change. I just embraced more of what I already was. And so I was always seeing things different from a different perspective in my life. And I kind of always came up just like not understanding why people did certain things and not really liking it. And then come to realize, like, these people don't change. Not unless they really want to. It takes a lot of momentum and energy. So if, let's just say there's someone who looks like they're playing a villain in your life, like that person, if you were to hear their origin story, it's the origin story of a villain. It's the origin story of a villain. And I would actually recommend the actual story of the Count of Monte Cristo for you guys to look into that, even though I love the 2002 movie because it had a redemption perspective put on it. But the Count of Monte Cristo is a villain origin story. And if you look at how Edmund's life was, like, he was all about bringing, even in the story, Mercedes, who he was previously engaged to, called him an animal. And that's exactly the issues with us humans, is like we respond on our animalistic desires, and that's problematic because then our animal desires, or our mind, is controlling us as opposed to us controlling it and us saying, no, I'm not going to do that. So some people just they're not recoding, right? And recoding is also the same as journaling. They're not observing, they're not journaling. That's it. That's honestly the simple difference between people who are self-aware and people who aren't. Those who are self-aware are practicing daily self-awareness, where they're thinking about how they're thinking. They're journaling about how they're thinking and what they're doing. Whereas other people stay stuck in memories. They just say, this is what it was and it sucked. And they're angry, as opposed to using it as an opportunity to alchemize. So this is your opportunity to remove that bias and recode your memories, which I think is great. I think this is a beautiful time for you to let go of certain things that just, you're like, wow, I was holding on to this for so long and this really hurt me for so long, but now it doesn't affect me the same way because I can see it differently. And I think it really just takes that moment of reflection to change a memory. And I think that's what Source is asking you to do, is to see that your memories aren't what they actually are. There's a lot of bias put into it, and we're born with bias, but now the game is to remove that bias. And once you remove that bias, you remove the pain that comes with it. Okay, so you guys have Why am I blanking out here? Okay, I'm blanking out. I'll just put it on the screen for you guys. Sorry about that. Okay, so this crystal, let me just go ahead and look into it and see if I can see anything. Yeah. I think Source is really asking for you to look at things that seem very scary and to see that if it's really scary, because every time Source Spirit talks about fear to me, they always say it's an apparition and it's not real, it's an illusion. So you think it's going to hurt you, but it won't. So you might be in a place right now where something kind of scares you, maybe thinking about it scares you. And they're showing here that there's nothing to be afraid of here with this pendulum crystal here. Yeah, because I'm just seeing like mountains, and I'm seeing, oh, I'm seeing someone. What are they doing? Holding on to something? Oh. I think they also want you to exercise using your own sense of humor, because I'm seeing someone laughing and it looks like they're doing something dangerous, but they're laughing. They're like, this is kind of funny. Or it looks like they're posing for a picture, like like let's say someone's in the middle of a 1,000-foot wave and they're just like, they like don't care, like unbothered. And I'm also seeing ghosts as well and apparitions here. Yeah. But I think it's not like scary things aren't going to happen or whatever occur in our life. It's just that it's the way to see it. So instead of being terrified of ghosts, they want you to like not be scared of it. And the ghost also takes me the ghosts of the past. Like the ghosts are usually from the past. They represent the past or past memories. And I think that's what a lot of our fear is based in. It's based off of memories that we have about things and re-experiencing it. In fact, I was thinking about how like I experienced some sort of conflict not too long ago, and then that conflict was happening for maybe like an hour, and then after that it was done. But then me thinking about it felt like I was just holding on to it. And I'm also seeing it's not like you're looking at memories and you're like repainting the picture and you're like, no, actually I had a great childhood. It's not about lying to yourself. It's more about looking at it and being like, how interesting that I have this feeling and I had this experience of what felt like a terrible childhood or something that was scary, but there's something interesting. It's like watching a movie, like a character in a story. Now you look at it and you're like, you're not angry because you're not attached to the characters in it. You know, you're not like, oh, you know, these were people who mattered to me in my life. It's more like I'm watching me play a character where other characters were bothering me, and I don't really have this attachment to them. It's kind of funny. And I think a really good tip here before I start pulling cards for you guys, group number 1, is that people and egos run on scripts. They're very predictable. They say the same thing. It's the same kind of pushback. You get the same thing over and over. People say the same thing. It's predictable. You could probably like, without them even speaking, you could be like, I bet this person's going to say this, this, and this, because people just run on a script. And that's what's funny about it. It's like they run on a script. So it's like, why is it scary if you know exactly what they're going to say and how they're going to do it? It's not that scary anymore. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull some cards for you guys and see what wants to come through as far as messages from Source. We got 5 of Pentacles. We also have here the Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, the Wheel of Karma, Wheel of Dharma. It's also Jupiter. Also check out my, Saturn and Pisces, like Jupiter's Pisces energy. Yeah, so we got fear, we got the Fool, not worrying about it. So I think the main message here is to not worry about it. You know, the 5 of Pentacles, it could just be any kind of physical situation that you're experiencing that's really unpleasant, and it just feels like it's quite stark, or scary, like it's, oh my gosh, this is like the worst, this is rock bottom kind of thing. Five of Pentacles literally is connected to poverty, but there just might be some sort of lack of resources or a lack that you're experiencing in your physical reality, in this, on this plane of reality, that really is just karma playing out, and the wheel is going to turn when it needs to turn. We get the Nine of Swords, which is about fears, dealing with fear and anxiety, and then we have here the Fool card, which is about like letting go and a new beginning coming. So really the only thing we can do when we're in this place in life is just to kind of ride out the wave and see where it takes us. And I'm just saying it's like an illusion, so it's more of like the inner experience is testing you, but the outer experience is not really something you have to worry about. Okay, we have here Shabhala initiations. So retreating to recharge, trusting in the process, Dharma. Yeah, we were talking about karma, now we're talking about Dharma. The wheel of karma is the wheel of Dharma. It's one and the same thing. But Dharma is where you choose to be empowered with the way that life is unfolding, as opposed to feeling like a victim here. So they're wanting you to trust the process of life. And this is perhaps a time of retreat for you where you're learning a lot intuitively. And when we're going through these difficult situations, we are going through a lot of spiritual growth within ourselves, where it's like, what can we handle? And Source is saying, you know, this is just a reality that your being goes beyond. You know, your being is ageless, and your being knows how to handle this. All realities the same. We got mountains here, which is all about strength and climbing. Here you got to climb to get the knowledge. So that's what you're doing, is you're actually climbing in your situation to get knowledge and wisdom. Or you're also taking applied knowledge and you're making it's becoming experiential wisdom. And the wisdom is the true wealth. This is what takes you into higher states of consciousness, and it takes you into a higher state of bliss here, where you feel a lot more carefree. You're just like, yeah, this is happening. Oh, okay. We have here Freya, phases and cycles. There's a beginning within every ending. Illusions are revealed and released. For some reason, I read that as relax. So I think that's kind of the advice that they're sharing with you, is to relax as well. It's just a phase. It's a cycle. You know how when we go through teenage or rebellious phases in life, or just any kind of phase in life, it's just a phase. And so they're trying to tell you it's just a phase. It's not forever. It's a phase. It's not forever. Nothing really is forever. Like, all circumstances are temporary. So we have your Almora, awakening presence. The universe is with you. Wear a cloak of protection and love. So they want you to know that you are protected and you are safe, but you also have to embrace this for yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to feel it. It's not enough to be like, yeah, the universe protects me and keeps me safe. Like, you actually have to know that for yourself. And the way that you know that is you can just reflect on certain memories or experiences where you thought you were in danger and then it worked out fine. That's exactly what's happening right now. Maybe it's happening on a bigger scale, but it's nonetheless the same experience over and over. We have Odin, psychic insight. Your third eye is open, see truth for what it is, follow your intuition. Yeah, so this is telling me that you guys already know what to do, you know how to handle reality, or you know what's happening. Sometimes the what to do thing is can get you really mixed into confusion, because you're like, what do I need to do? This is telling me there's not really much you can do. It's just sort of happening. Okay, the only thing you can really do is to exercise strength over your inner being, and use that. Okay, yeah, you might be going through some sort of temporary hardship in life right now. It's temporary. Maybe wherever Taurus is in your chart, there might be some kind of conflicts showing up for you as well. Okay, let's see what else wants to come through. We have here the ocean. Oh, yes, the ocean. You guys got the ocean. I've never pulled this card before. And we have here the offering. Nice. Yeah, isn't there like scary movies called The Offering or something? It sounds like a scary movie. Okay, so there's an offering, and the way that wrist is lying down looks a little creepy. So we get the ocean. So this means that you're an expansive, infinite being, timeless being, who's connected to timelessness. And this is part of the lesson to learn right now, is to not be so fixed in this reality. You know, with all the energies shifting through Pisces right now, this is a beautiful time to just kind of embrace the flow, organic flow and unpredictability of the waves and the shifts that happen. And if you've ever heard about riptides, what does one do in a riptide? What people recommend is that you just stay calm as possible. And sometimes you have to swim in a certain direction. When a riptide is happening, you have to like swim in that direction. One of the dreams I had was I was in the ocean one time, and like the waves kept crashing, and I couldn't get to the surface. So for some reason, breathing didn't matter in this dream. But in my dream, I just went underneath the waves, and I swam quietly underneath in the deep. And sometimes going into the deep can be also a reminder of us digging deep into ourselves, or finding that quiet in us, and that quiet is our being who's observing, who's taking it all in, and who isn't reacting to anything. Okay. And I feel like with this offering here, I feel like there's an exchange happening to me. Whenever there's an offering or something that's shifting hands, it's an exchange, because all energy is an exchange. It's not like, oh, universe just gives you something for free. The universe does not give anything for free. Everything is an exchange. So if you want peace and you want bliss, you got to work for it. Just like the people who work to make millions, they work for it. And sometimes, obviously, the superficial materialistic stuff, you have to kind of prostitute yourself to some extent if that's the lifestyle you choose for yourself, because you have to become a salesman, essentially. And that's a whole different dynamic one has to embrace, which is not fun. But they're showing you there's an energetic exchange that's happening. And so you're not just experiencing this for nothing. You're experiencing this, you're working for something, right? So all kind of struggles or difficulties grant us some sort of recognition or achievement in being able to move up in promotion. But the promotion in this sense is like states of consciousness. So you are being promoted, and as you're promoted in states of consciousness, your physical reality will match it too. It's just you have to learn how to trust your intuition. You have to learn how to understand what is a beautiful reality, what is a beautiful life really. Is it like, you know, when I have lots of money and when I'm getting whatever I want when I want, you can see that people who get what they want when they want, most of the time they're not happy and they're not healthy. Not happy, not healthy. So our happiness and our health should be prioritized. But if we prioritize the material over our states of existence, then we're sacrificing our happiness actually for all of those material gains. So something to watch for. Look. Oh, no, these are crooked. I was like, looks a little crooked. Okay, let me go ahead and read the book. And we'll see exactly what the offering is trying to offer us here. So the unconscious, the depths, the incomprehensible. The power of the ocean is unmatched. To step into its salty waters is to step into the unknown. By its sheer volume, the ocean represents the unconscious, all that is beyond our understanding. We cannot live within the ocean. Oh, speaking of my dream, we cannot claim it, manage it, or own it. It rejects our every attempt to dominate nature. There you go. That's pretty much what these next, few years are going to be like. But, for those who embrace their spiritual side, it's going to be actually quite fun. Yeah. Yet amid its overwhelming power it calls to us, inspires us, and invigorates our life on land. It dissolves the little us into the big us. When the energy of the ocean is present, there is change stirring that is beyond any change you've known before. The ego must dissolve. The saline swells work on your very cells, your fibers, your deepest underlying beliefs. Life like Aphrodite, we rise from the ocean's froth, a new being. Life is change. Let the wave crash. Am I psychic or am I psychic? I know I'm intuitive, so that happens all the time. That just happens when you exercise you're stretching your awareness and your consciousness. The more you learn, the more you just know. Okay, we have here the gift, the present, the sacrifice. Oh, unlike many of the other cards in the deck, the offering carries a clear as day message and call to action. As you may have guessed it is time for something to be given and given up. for the sake of a bigger picture. There's again the big. If nothing comes to mind immediately, though, it's likely it will. Take time in meditation to consider what must be offered and who is to receive it. It's likely you'll feel attachment and hesitancy. Neighbor's dog. You'll make excuses, but recognize the link between the word sacrifice and the word sacred. One leads to the other. When we offer up something to the greater good, we lighten our load and become more able to serve. Imagine for a moment if you were to offer your whole self unconditionally to the world. For now, start small. So this card is connected to generosity, donation, and volunteering. Okay, so that's Pisces energy for you. That's also a little bit of Virgo, and I know that opposite signs are quite similar to one another. So what Spirit is, Source is trying to tell you is that you are being called to service, my dear, for a bigger picture shift that's happening. And the most important thing I think right now is just to recognize what your part is in it. How can you help? The bigger part that you can help to is it's energetic. So everyone's going through something quite massive. Maybe some just don't realize it. There's quite a massive change or shift that's happening in the collective right now. And you have to recognize that, you have to acknowledge it, and you have to understand you play a part in it. And a lot of your part to play in it is just surrendering and trusting where the waves want to go, where the movement of the ocean wants to go and take you, and you can't control it. Uncontrollable. So the best thing to do is just to stay awake, stay aware in this shift that's happening, and embrace it. Let's go ahead and close out your reading group number 1. We got House 3, Pluto, and Cancer. Okay, so your psychology is going through a huge shift right now, and the way that you know that your psychology is shifting is by the way that you talk to yourself. Whether you say, "Oh, this is what's working, that's what's working," how you talk to yourself. So the language that you approach life with, how you receive things is changing, and that also feels like the recoding, right? Before you were used to a certain code. I think collectively we're going through a huge recoding right now, and it's happening on the subtle level right now. But what's happening is like Spirit or Source or whatever is shifting reality in the way that it needs to in order for us to change to it. And so we're adaptable creatures. So what's happening is the coding is changing on the deepest levels, and we are subtly getting those markers for change. And it doesn't matter, if you're self-aware or not, we're all going to be called to change. It's just some people are going to resist it, some people are going to go with it. And Spirit is trying to tell you, you guys have the opportunity to really go with this big shift that's happening. But to me, with that Pisces energy, especially with Saturn being there, slow. It's going to be gradual, and it's going to be a slow shift. So the important thing is just to understand, it's happening at a natural pace, but whatever is showing up in your life is not just going to ease up just because you want it to. It's not going to be resolved the same way that you would typically resolve things. This is because there's a huge recoding that's happening. So I think what's more important is to acknowledge the recoding that's happening inside of you right now, the shifts that are happening within you and those changes, to embrace it. With that Pluto, that's a transformation, that's a death and a rebirth. So the old way of being, the old way of reality is dying. The old self is dying, and a new self is being reborn. A new reality is being born here. And it looks like you guys absolutely, sorry with my hair, you guys have what it takes to move through this. Pluto is also the planet of power and strength, and it's very psychological or internal or subconscious and unconscious. Pluto is that deep depth within us. That's the deep ocean within us. And we got Cancer as well with the ocean. So this is about tuning into the depths of the ocean to understand how to move with this shift inside of you. There's something that just knows how to do it. With that 3rd house, that's the thoughts, communication, how we talk to ourselves. That's changing. The language is changing. And so I think it's just becoming, in general, more spiritual. I think we're just talking to ourselves in a more esoteric, open way where we're like, maybe some people, God is coming more into the equation. Maybe some people, it's Spirit, Source, whatever. I think that's becoming more of the language, and the new agey language, or how people have always talked when it comes to spirituality, is becoming more of the norm. And we're shifting into that dynamic of the norm. And I know people want to say we're in the age of Aquarius, but I follow Vedic Astrology and we're still in the age of Pisces, okay? Pisces rules. That's why this shift that's happening, this cycle shift that's happening is big deal, because Pisces is what moves oceans and seas as far as our collective consciousness. We are still in the era of learning how to work through things as a collective here, intuitively, spiritually, deeply. Okay, so that's going to be the end of your reading here, group number 1. Like, subscribe to support, comment down below, let me know what you're thinking. Bye. Hey, group number 2, welcome to your reading. So you guys chose Captain. I was actually going to change the name of your oracle card, but I forgot. So it's fine, we'll go with it. It's meant to be. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and share with you guys what I was picking up in the meditation I got for your group. So the message, the oracle card we have here is Captain. So the first thing I got was Captain of the Starship, and then I saw someone like meditating in a crystallized form. So this also has something to do with boundaries. And the last message was destination, something with, identification with your story. Okay, cool. Yeah, so this Captain is sort of referencing Superman. So Superman had like that fortress. If you guys have ever watched Superman's story, he had the Fortress of Solitude that he would go to where he would communicate with Jor-El. I watched Smallville growing up, so that's more of what I'm referencing. But Clark would go to the Fortress of Solitude to be re-educated by Jor-El, how things worked and how to embody his powers. Like his father's like, you have a destiny, you need to embrace these powers, you need to work through it. And that fortress is also supposed to represent that inner quiet and peace inside of us that we're able to master. We are here as beings to learn how to handle the collective chaos and the mental chaos here and create some sort of strength of solitude within us. What I've often noticed that those people who have gone through or been exposed to a lot of trauma growing up are actually some of the best, strongest people mentally, emotionally. They're very strong. Some of them, they end up trading one addiction for another, but some people actually make it through quite mentally strong. And to be honest, there's just nothing in this material world that's going to satisfy that need, that peace that we're seeking. The only way to find that peace is to go to source, to go to, the unseeable, the untangible. You have to go to the invisible, the magic. And that's the only place you can go to heal. Otherwise, if you rely on this physical reality, it's just never going to satisfy, which is why people are always talking about the facts and the numbers and how everything's all messed up. I thought an interesting conversation people were having was about masculinity and toxic masculinity and how men are being left behind. And I just thought to myself, I don't know that the story has actually changed. Maybe it's just different, because I had 2 uncles who ended their lives when I was really young. So it just seems to me that men have always been more susceptible to the fluctuations mentally, emotionally. They've always been more susceptible. And I think that has a lot to do with more masculine energy and men relying more on the physical reality to shift their dynamic as opposed to creating a relationship to spirituality. Whereas women are, because they have more feminine energy, are just a little bit more in tune with that. But I think as a man, I think it is a lot more difficult. I think you have to probably work twice as hard to maybe believe in magic. Whereas a woman, maybe they can go with the flow. Either way, I just don't think that it's changed all that much in the past few years. It's just we're talking more about it. We're measuring the data here. So I don't think this is a crisis. It's just more of an apparent problem that's always been there. It's just people aren't hiding it. Here, the addictions are not working. So for you, group number 2, you're being called to be the captain of your starship. This is also kind of inspired by, I don't know if it was episode 5 of Black Mirror, the new season that came out, but this is about creating that, going in tune with yourself. In this image, we're reminded of the frozen tundra. I imagine if you're sitting on ice like that, it's going to be very uncomfortable. Right? And I know there's wasn't there a guy somewhere, he wrote a book where he talked about walking on ice or being in the cold and he can't feel anything, right? And there are monks who can do that too. That's cool. That's cool if people can do that. They can be like, oh yeah, mind over matter kind of thing. The thing is, beyond that, you don't have to go to the icy tundra, to handle the icy whatever, to know what you can handle. I'm like, life in and of itself is a lot. And I'm like, if you're running away from your life experiences to go escape to something else, you're not resolving anything, right? You're just changing the addiction or the form that it shows up in, but you haven't resolved anything. So honestly, what this frozen tundra is, it's all of those obstacles and difficulties that we go through in life. You know, that's the mental pressure that we feel of life on us. I don't have to go to the cold to know what mental pressure feels like. Just being alive in my body is more than enough here. And to me, group number 2, the main message is coming from source is like, you need to own it. Like, own that you are accountable for your life, and you have a choice, and your free will choice to decide what it is that you want to do, what you want to embrace for yourself, what you feel called to, what's true for you here. You are guiding this and commanding this starship, nobody else. You know, no one else is controlling your body to get up and be like, do this, do that. No, like, you are absolutely a self-aware being who has the ability to decide what's right for them. So that you're the captain of your starship, you're the captain of going haywire and feeling just so overwhelmed and done with life, or you're the captain of, I can tune into that peace. I can find that peace. What helps me to create more peace in my life? So this, to me, group number 2 is all about assessing and being aware of all of the habits that you embrace in your day-to-day life that help you to find that peace. What are those habits? This is what they're wanting you to acknowledge here. And then the other message with the identification of the story, the identification with the story, that's a lot of what's causing the pain for all of us. It's the identification with the story. When I think of, you know, if I were to think of myself as just little old me, yeah, I do definitely feel like a victim, and I will definitely perpetuate that story of a victim. But if I understand that I'm a being that's going through these experiences and it is, you know, part of a character, then I'm like, oh, you know, okay. I'm just identifying with that story on repeat. So learning how to not identify with that story can be tricky, but you can do it. You can do it. And this is telling me, group number 2, that you guys are powerful. You know, you're more powerful than you realize. You can handle more than you think. And that's kind of the main message that pulls me through anything. I'm like, I can handle anything because I'm a being. I'm not a person. I'm the being. So the being can handle anything, because anything in the physical reality is, you know, it might be painful at times, but it's just temporary and it's going to pass. And sometimes the whole point of this reality is to be pushed to the psychological edge of the cliff. You're going to be pushed to the edge of the cliff to see what can you handle. And pretty much all of us can handle max. The maximum discomfort and pain. Not physically. That's not the point. It's not about pain and torture. Oh, what can I physically handle? Yeah, being in the body is hard and difficult sometimes, but no, it's mental. It's psychological. What can you handle psychologically? That's what reality is actually testing. It's not testing your physical strength. You know, you can go in the gym and lift weights, but that is not going to do anything. Like, let's say you go and lift weights, but your health is poor and your mental health is poor. What's the point of having this strong body when your mental health is poor? Versus, you know, giving your body time to rest, giving your body good nutrients, that's a little bit better. That will prepare your foundation for, you know, being able to be strong and handle anything. So you guys got blue lace agate here. So the blue lace agate, obviously, when I pick these crystals, it's very intuitive. I just pick really quick. And I was getting a lot of energy from this one, and it very much fits your Captain Oracle card here. So with the blue lace agate, you know, this is all about the mental. This is about being diplomatic. I think it's also, maybe there's a Libra connection or energy as well. This also makes me think of ice and tundra, which is interesting that we got this as well. Let me see if I can see anything. Well, I'm seeing two energies merge here. And I feel like that's maybe source in you or source in, you know, I think when we're elevating into higher states of consciousness, we're getting constant upgrades, right? And I'm seeing that for you guys. I feel like you guys are in a space where you're embracing an upgrade, and the best way to embrace this upgrade, I'm getting this really peaceful and serene energy. This is how you get the upgrade, is to embrace your quiet, to embrace the peace and the serenity in your life, and to allow it, to embrace it, to know which habits help you to maintain a peaceful state of existence as much as possible. And I'm seeing like something being held up to the forehead, or like it's taking me to like third eye and crown chakra. I feel like you are being inundated with a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge to help you to thrive in your existence here. And I'm seeing a tree of life. Yeah, and to me, this tree, I feel like, sure, you could be the tree in a sense, but I'm seeing something grab something from the tree, the fruit of the tree. The tree actually feels more like source to me. And if you think about a tree, I can go out there and let's say I have a lemon tree outside. I can go out there and pick a lemon off that tree, and that tree is not going to be like, hey, give me my lemon back. What I'm seeing here is how generous source is with us, with giving us information. And that's why I can't look at this reality and be like, it sucks. Because I'm like, well, it's giving us everything we need to thrive. So what about it really sucks? It seems like I'm given some sort of disadvantage and advantage at the same time. It's like I can take the disadvantage or I can take the advantage. It's very much like the blue or the red pill, even though I don't really know that reference that well from the Matrix. But it's like, do you want to know the truth and find peace, or do you want to not know the truth and live in pain? That's what I'm seeing. So I'm seeing the offerings, I'm seeing a tree, and I feel like that's how knowledge is. And I feel like that's what I've learned in my experience, is how easily accessible the knowledge is. I've heard people say, well, this information isn't out there. I'm like, this information is definitely out there because of the internet. It can't be controlled. It's already been given out to the masses like crazy. So nothing can stop the information from getting out. It's about whether you have the intent of going out there and seeking it and then using it and applying it. Because there are a lot of people who read tons of books, and I'm like, so, you're still not happy. What do you think the problem is? The problem maybe has something to do with the fact that you're maybe not applying what you're learning, or you're not doing your homework. You're just reading the book. That's not enough. You got to do your homework and see, well, let me try to test reality and see are we really in a matrix? Don't just take my word for it. Go actually test your reality and see, am I in a matrix? Can I do it like this? Can I do it differently? Do I need to just relax? What happens when I'm anxious? How is that going to shift my reality? Like, test it out. And your memories are going to show you a lot of how reality works, but I would say go ahead and test it out and see what works. Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and pull some cards for you guys and see whatever final advice Spirit Source has for you. My captains, group number 2. Lead us. We're here to, by the way, the only leader, there's only one kind of leader. The only real leader by definition is a leader who leads by example. That's it. A leader isn't someone who's born. A leader isn't someone who's promoted, who's high in rank, who makes a lot of money. A leader isn't even someone who has more experience than you. A leader is someone who actually leads by example and does what they say they do. That's a real leader. That's how people actually have permission to be genuinely confident in what they do, is because they apply what they learn. They're not just writing books about it and talking to people about it. They're actually applying it. Okay, we got 8 of Cups. Let's see what else they have for you, group number 2. Oh, Saturn in Pisces, moving on. That's where Saturn is right now. It's going to be there until 2027, go into Aries, and then retrograde back into Pisces on October 20th, 2027 until early 2028. Okay. 8 of Cups. Yeah, we got boundaries, Queen of Swords, 2 of Wands. Okay, envisioning, 4 of Cups. Yeah. So this is about taking on reality and not liking what you're experiencing or seeing. Here's the trick. You're not supposed to like it. Something about you is supposed to be like, I don't like this. I'm put off. I want something else. That's the point, is to not like it so that you go elsewhere. So the way that you really know you're evolving is this physical reality has to be so uncomfortable for you, right? Or just uncomfortable, generally just like, ugh. that the only place you have to go to feel the relief is inward. That's how you know you're evolving. Okay. We have the Forest. Yeah, so this is also about being okay with the unknown. When you walk into the forest, you don't know what's going to happen. It's a whole adventure. You know, you're going to meet, I don't know, the creepy witch in there, the wizard. I don't know. You're going to meet all kind of things in the forest. This is where you're going to learn how things really work. But it's kind of dark in there. You know, there's so many unknowns. I remember I had a vision when I first started this channel of someone going into the forest and they had like a little light that was guiding them and they were anxious. And yeah, that's one way for us to experience an awakening or evolution or life. But you can also pause and start walking slower and looking around. Just like when Snow White was running in the woods in the original cartoon, she was terrified. Everything was scary, it looked terrifying. And then she cried and then she paused and she looked up and she realized that what she was seeing a distortion of nature and a distortion of the animals. So I'm hearing distortion for you, group number 2. Distortion. If you fear reality, that is a distortion of the truth. There's nothing in this reality to fear. That's why we can enjoy this ride. That's why we can enjoy being in this human body, because anything we fear is a distortion. So as opposed to seeing things as unfortunate, being like, life sucks, we can look at it and be like, if I feel like it sucks, I must be distorting it. How do I see it even more clearly so that I can see it for what it is? And that's what that blue lacy gate is too. It's like seeing things clearly and getting that clarity. Okay, so things are shifting. We're moving on. We're letting go of what no longer serves us, particularly emotionally. What was not serving us in our life experiences. We're exiting. Saturn Pisces is a lot about exiting old habits that we attached ourselves to that were not working. And instead, we're going out into the forest and we're seeking and we're finding the truth here. So Queen of Swords is about those boundaries and those limits. You don't have to. So I think there's a bit of a misconception around boundaries. Maybe even I've communicated in a confusing way. This is how I understand boundaries. Boundaries is really just about your states of consciousness. It's not about blocking people out. I'm going to block this, I'm going to block this. No. Or trying to tell yourself a different story so that you can block out the negative story of your life. That's not what boundaries is. Boundaries is about, it's like a bird. Think about a bird. When a bird is on the ground, it can only see certain things. When a bird flies up high into the sky and looks down, it's so unbothered by whatever's happening down there. Let's say, I don't know, that bird was it was amongst a bunch of humans who are just like being chaotic and weird. And it's like, it's so chaotic here. The higher that bird goes, the more at peace it becomes. That's what boundaries is. Boundaries is not about blocking people out. You can't block people out. We're psychic. You can't block energy out. We're an ocean. We're connected to everyone and everything, psychically, emotionally. It's connected. The way that you create boundaries is you tune into the higher and higher and higher and higher octaves of truth. That's the only way to create boundaries. So every time you're feeling overwhelmed by life or scared, that's because you're seeing things from a very, very low perspective. The higher in the perspective you go, you realize, I'm a sim character in a game. This is harmless in a sense. Harmless. So that psychological thing, where people are like, I'm psychologically traumatized. That's not true. That's a perspective. That's a belief. Trauma is a belief. And it works at lower states of consciousness, but it doesn't work at higher states of consciousness. They don't care about trauma at the higher states of consciousness. Okay, let's go ahead and pull cards. Also, the Two of Wands is about envisioning things. Getting visions about your future, about what's to come, what you feel passionately called to create in this world. Also, knowing you have a choice. Okay, so we have here Master Jesus, forgiveness. You are on the path of light, love, and forgiveness. Father, healing is possible at this time. Yeah. So forgiveness is about, it's that 8 of Cups. It's like letting go of situations that just don't work out, not trying to fix them. Like, oh, let me try to amend it. It's more like, okay. You know, the Queen of Swords, she is the one who experiences those losses, and she finds a way to move on. She gains the wisdom and the insight of what that disappointing experience taught her, and then she uses it as knowledge and wisdom. She's probably the most insightful. She has the best advice to offer to people because she learned from her experiences, and she realized that this is what works and this is what does not work. And that's what they're asking you to embrace. What works, what doesn't work, move forward. Don't look back, move forward. So love, forgiveness, Father, healing is possible at this time. Yeah, so you're healing. This is what healing looks like. I've also talked about that on my podcast before, is what does healing actually look like? I forgot what I called the podcast. Okay. All right. We have here Akashic Stargate. I almost thought that said Akashic Records. We have Higher Heart Activation. Beautiful. So this is the upgrade you're getting. You're getting a higher heart activation, which means, your heart is amazing. It's basically a portal. It's the way that I've seen it in readings, and energetically it's like a portal. And I've heard that the heart has the Merkaba in it here with this Merkaba activation. Transcendence, ascension, you're rising up. So this is when we open our heart to embrace forgiveness. And this is when your heart opens up, is when you're able to forgive what happened that didn't work out. You actually become more strong. Your heart becomes more expansive. Your aura becomes brighter when you forgive what happened and you move forward. Here. And it actually says here, dropping shields. We were talking about boundaries. Dropping shields, divine love. Your heart is healed. Your heart's healing. I would say never rely on anything that's finalized and be like, this is it. There's never a this is it. Reality just keeps evolving. So whatever higher heart activation you're embracing right now, there's a higher level even. So with the Akashic Stargate, align with purpose, crossroads, no wrong path. The Two of Wands sometimes can give us this energy of a crossroads and choosing. And I think the beautiful part of this is just knowing you have a choice. You have a choice in the reality that you want to experience. You have a choice in the life that you want to embrace for yourself. Now, we don't have a choice in controlling reality, but we do have a choice in how we perceive it. So this is all about, with the Queen of Swords, it's all about perception. How are you going to perceive this reality? Perceive it as something that's an advantage for you or a disadvantage, your choice. Yeah, so you're going through a beautiful experience of expansion and ascension right now. That's what they're wanting you to see. This is an expansion, this is an ascension, this is healing, and you're getting a multitude of upgrades. All right, let's close out your reading group number 2. We got Mercury, beautiful, Taurus in the 4th house. All right, so psychology is the theme of this reading here. How you think, how you talk to yourself. This is important because our words create spells. How we think, how we speak. And the more that you think and you speak in alignment with Source, the more that you get to experience that upgrade and that advantage. The more you speak and think in terms of being cynical or pessimistic, then you get to feel that. So they're saying how you speak is how you feel. If you want to speak in terms of life sucks, well, guess what? You get to experience how life sucks because that's how you perceive it. If you want to perceive life as beautiful, that can be your perception too. And this looks like a really beautiful image. This is all about the lens through which you see life. It's not about how you want it to appear. It's how it actually is appearing, or how you're perceiving it to appear. So Taurus is all about habits. So this is about learning, developing the habits. How do you speak to yourself? How do you talk? Taurus is all about that foundation and the basics of how do I talk? How do I speak? I've heard etymology is really good to educate yourself in so that you can reprogram how you speak, how you think, because our words are spells. And I think what's crazy is we don't realize how incredible this human instrument is and how reprogrammable it is. I personally have always talked like this for a long time because I was always wanting to reprogram myself. And when I talk about people and situations, sometimes I'm like, yeah, it sucks, but I rarely get I rarely speak of things, I don't know if you want to say rarely, but I don't often speak of things in a negative manner because that's not how I want to feel. Right? And often when I'm doing that these days, I feel like I'm trying to persuade myself that life sucks when it's not true for me. Yeah, so this is all about habits. It's forming your psychology, and it's also forming your sense of safety and security and how safe you feel in your body and your environment. So what this is telling me, it doesn't matter what environment you're in. If you're in a prison cell, whatever, your psychology is what's creating the sense of safety. It's not the physical experience. We don't let the physical experience decide how we feel. We decide how we feel about it. And what Source is trying to tell you is tell yourself you're safe. Embrace the energy and the frequency of safety, and you are safe. How you perceive life is how it is. And that's the truth. And that's absolutely true, because people who feel like this is a dog eats dog world, that's their reality. That's how they see life. That's how they experience life. And sometimes you're looking at people, I don't understand. How can they just see this as a dog eats dog world when there's so much hope and optimism? That's because that's how they keep thinking and seeing things. And we are easy to program. I've talked about this in my reprogramming podcast videos. We are very easy to program and reprogram. It's all about the day-to-day work. So how do you talk to yourself regularly? I don't know how many people who say, oh, life sucks. I'm like, I will never say that. Like as in a concrete belief, as in life actually sucks. I'm like, sometimes it feels like life sucks, but I don't actually believe that. I actually believe life is full of optimism, hope, excitement, and adventure. So this forest you're going through can either be an adventure or could be hell, depending on how you look at it, right? And this is also taking me to the understanding of seeing the forest from the trees. Seeing the forest from the trees. Or seeing the tree from the forest, something like that. Discernment, exercising discernment. And then with this emerald here, this is all about healing in our heart chakra as well. So you are going through a healing experience, and you're healing. What is healing? You heal your perception, you heal your discernment, you heal yourself. When you heal the way that you think and feel and perceive things, you've healed yourself. Okay, that's going to be the end of your reading here, group number 2. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like, subscribe to support. Let me know if this resonated. Comment down below. I will see you guys next time. Bye. Hey, group number 3, welcome to your reading. So you guys got Memento, Mori. The first message that I got for your reading was meditating on death. I also got a reference to The Notebook, if you guys have ever seen The Notebook before. To be honest, I don't think I've ever watched that movie from beginning to end. I think I've seen parts of it before, but I did see this scene where the older man was talking to his wife who had, I think she had Alzheimer's, and she was losing her memories and she was forgetting things, and she had forgotten their relationship together. So he was telling them their story. I guess that's why it's called The Notebook. I don't know. I never watched the full thing. But he was telling them their life story, and she thought he was talking about someone else, and it turns out she was talking about them. So I think the main message that's coming through for your reading group number 3 is priorities. This is about what are you prioritizing? And I've often heard that it's really good exercise to meditate on death here, to understand that we are temporary. And the thing is, I don't think I've ever been like, let me try to meditate on death, but I think about it all the time, and I think we all think about it all the time. Don't you think? I think about like, oh, what if this killed me? What if I died here or died here? It's always crossing my mind. But maybe I would invite you, even myself, to go on a longer meditative observational practice where I thought about it for a longer period of time. And I allowed myself to really embrace this idea of dying. And I have from time to time, maybe like a little blip here and there. And often what happens is priorities shift quick. So I think it's actually a really good exercise because your priorities shift quick. If you ever want to help anyone understand how to embrace the priorities in life and to get on priority, as far as what Source is trying to tell you, group number 3, your priorities shift really quick when you think about dying meditating on death. What if this is my last day? What would I do? How would I live? And to be honest, I think I started embracing this maybe around COVID time. I started being like, I can't live like this. How would I live my life if I were to live the rest of my life? And I told myself I had to live the truth. And so from that point on time, I started just like taking bolder action steps, which, to some people that might look like, oh, I just like sell all my things and I ship off. But to me, my bolder steps were a lot more subtle. And it was a lot more, okay, I'm going to start expressing myself when it comes to my spiritual ideas and concepts. I'm going to start learning more, educating more, and applying the knowledge as opposed to just wanting that in the future sometime. So I feel like this is a beautiful time, group number 2, especially with that Saturn and Pisces of being about endings. This is a beautiful time for you to embrace this concept of death and things ending in your life. And what happens often in life is when we don't want things to end is we try to hold it together and hold on to it because we're so terrified of what's going to happen if we don't have it. But I'm like, maybe we should think about it. I'm like, think about not having it. And that's actually going to shift your priorities. And what might happen is you might shift yourself as a primary important thing. Is you're going to start prioritizing your dreams, your heart, the truth over societal expectations, your upbringing, and any kind of other programming that was stopping you from doing what you wanted to do. There are usually 2 things that stop us from pursuing our dreams. And that's 1, the opinions of others. And 2, it's the opinion we place on ourselves. And this is what I call judgment. This is judgment. And judgment day is every day. And to me, when I think about, okay, what's the truth? I'm willing to bet it all on source. I'm like, I'm going to bet it on this. I'm going to bet it on how source is always telling me to live my life, to create more peace, contentment, and happiness for myself. I choose that over anything else. And more I become loyal to it. I never thought I could be this loyal to it. So Memento Mori, there will be a point in time where this life will end. Think about that. It's all temporary. The reference to the notebook, I think this is just about memories as well. Thinking about how memories have impacted your choices, your life choices. This is also kind of inspired by that final episode of Black Mirror, where a man was reflecting on regrets he had. He chose to do things in the moment that were emotional based off of his own pride and ego, not off of his heart. His heart was telling him to do this and that, but he went against it. And years later, he regretted it. So I don't regret anything in my life at this point now, because I, for the most part, have always been living in alignment with my heart. But, definitely 5 years ago, I set off on a path to always live in alignment with my heart. And I don't think it's a coincidence that you guys got the selenite here. And that man, even though he has a notebook in front of him, it looks like he's almost putting his hand on his heart. And he's saying, I choose to pledge allegiance to my heart. And in the United States, we have the Pledge of Allegiance to the country. But I'm always like, nah, I pledge my heart. My heart first is what I pledge to over anything else. And the heart is not emotional. It just knows the right thing to do. And the heart is forgiving. It lets go of what didn't work out. This old man, it looks like he's lived a long life. And I think it's very good to meditate on, what if I was so old? How would I like to look back at my memories in my life? Okay. So selenite heart, let's see if I can pick up anything in here. Yeah, I'm seeing like a circle of love. And I'm seeing how when we follow our heart, we are embraced energetically by this circle of love that is so supporting and kind to us and generous with us. And that's what I'm seeing here for you guys. It's like you are a part of a circle of love here. And when you choose to follow your heart, you become even more a part of that circle of love. For group number 1, I was talking about the Count of Monte Cristo. I'm watching the mini-series because I'm like obsessed. And in the mini-series, it's basically a villain origin story. He doesn't really have that same redemption arc that the 2002 movie did. Jim Caviezel's portrayal of it felt a lot more filled with compassion and redemption, whereas in the miniseries, I think that's probably based off of the actual unfolding of the book. It's more of a villain origin story. And think about like the Joker. When that movie came out with Joaquin Phoenix, it was huge. And that's because people like villains. They like a good villain. They can relate to a villain because there's something about just like letting your crazy off the leash that seems liberating to a lot of people, but you have to understand that chaos perpetuates more chaos, and chaos is fed by chaos. So if you choose to act on your animalistic desires and hurt other people, there are huge consequences for that, and you have to sacrifice some part of your heart with that. So I understand why we relate to villains and why we maybe sometimes like a good villain origin story, but those people are not happy. You know, they had to like give a huge part of their life force to sustain it. It's almost like they're dead. You know, they're half awake. Okay, follow your heart, group number 3. So let's go ahead and pull cards for you. Let's see what final messages Source has for you. Okay, we got Page of Wands. Yeah, embracing the adventure that life is. It's not going to be perfect. To me, that's what that Temperance is. Also peace, which is selenite, is about peace too. We have here 3 of Cups. Yes, that's what I was seeing. Circle of Love, 3 of Cups. Okay. So yeah, I think the first message they're definitely encouraging here is how important it is for you to embark on this adventure. Pages are all about potential and what's possible. And the thing is, we're always in this state of potential of what can happen. Even if like we're at an old person in our life, life will go on. You know, consciousness doesn't die, it just goes on into another form. So, you know, even with death, there's a new beginning that comes with an opportunity. But I feel like here, group number 3, Source is really saying, don't wait to express yourself or to do what you love or to do what excites you or to do what feels right to you. For me, I feel like I'm living an adventure. But to someone else, they would look at my life and think, that's quite boring. You don't do much of anything. But I'm living in alignment with my truth. Like, this is my passion to live this way. It's always been as such. So, you know, with that Temperance card, this is asking you to find balance, to make peace, to be patient with the timing of things, the shifting of things. Also just to find harmony within yourself, to choose harmony, to choose balance, choose peace. We have 2 Sagittarius energies, which is all about like knowledge, the knowledge we gain from, you know, the 8th house in Scorpio is all about the knowledge we gain from the transformations we go through. This is also about alchemizing. Alchemize your experiences, all of them. And this is where the peace is created. Alchemy is peace, right? Everything's connected. So we got Sagittarius, we have the Temperance, we have alchemy. So how do you create alchemy? What is alchemy really? You create wisdom out of your pain. And so you make peace with the painful memories, with the painful experiences you've had by alchemizing it and realizing there's something to gain. I can gain wisdom out of this. So nothing is unfortunate and pointless. And I think I have a hard time with that sometimes because I'm like, what's the point of this conflict? This feels pointless to me. It feels like a waste of time. And I hear that voice in my head. It's always like, this is a waste of time. But for some reason, anything that's unfolding in our reality, nothing's a waste of time. Nothing's wasting time. It's just about your perception and what you want to make of it. All right, so we have Mercury, Cancer, we have friendship. So sorry. I'm kind of tired. I'm also kind of hungry. So this is about understanding that life is a celebration. Now, life is not always a party. You know, if you watch my Saturn and Pisces video, I have a scene where Sarah is with Miss Minchin, and Miss Minchin finds out that her father has died. She thought her father died in that movie anyways. In other versions, he did die. But she thought the father died and that she lost all this money. And she was just like, well, I don't care if her father died. The fact that I'm going into debt doesn't feel great for me. So I'm going to be mean to this girl. Mean. Be the villain. And she goes to Sarah and she says, she takes off. Sarah's at her birthday party. She's celebrating her 11th birthday. And she closes the piano and she's like, the party is over. Yeah, Saturn will do that. Saturn will end the fun, the superficial fun. But guess what? Another party's starting, and it's the party of spirituality and heart and source and true happiness. That's the real party. So the material party might end, but another party is igniting. That's the party of your spirit with that Page of Wands. This party comes straight from your spirit. That says that, Sagittarius is all about being optimistic about life and not worrying about things. Like, people just move on and they're like, oh, I guess that kind of sucked. Let me just find a way to use this. And a lot of the times I like to be a comedian in my life. When we need an inner comedian, where I like to laugh at a lot of things that are unfolding in my life because I'm just like, this is kind of crazy or silly or ridiculous. And it is. We can call this world dark and chaotic, or we can call it a dark comedy. And that's what I believe in. I believe in calling life a dark comedy. Because it is. All right. Watch The White Lotus if you're interested in shows. The dark comedy. All right. Which, interesting that they call the show White Lotus. Lotus is all about purification. But it just kind of goes to show you, it's like, what is really darkness? Okay. So he's got the self, the empty room, and the crone, wisdom, beautiful, judge, jury, and the mentor. Okay. Well, this is pretty straightforward. You're on a life adventure to explore yourself here with the Page of Wands. You're here to explore who you are. You're not here to be told by society what you're here to be, who you need to be. You're here to know who you are. What are you interested in? In the Memento Mori with the old man who's holding the notebook here, that notebook is full of his memories and his experiences. That's what we're here to collect. We're here to collect memories and experiences. It's not about, I'm here to make lots of money. I'm here to create generational wealth. That's all material attachment. I thought generational wealth was like a good thing. It doesn't matter. You can create generational wealth if you want, but it really doesn't matter because, quite frankly, your kids are going to figure out how to survive one way or another, as all generations do. And they're always like, I just want my kids not to struggle the way that I did. I'm like, your kids may not struggle financially, but they're going to have problems one way or another because we're all destined to have problems. So I think parents, they're always trying to like, let me just make their life better. I'm like, it's not going to be better. It's just going to be different. That's all. You can't protect your kids from this world. So we have the self, we have the empty room. This is about exiting old habits and things that don't serve us anymore. So there might be an old self that's dying and a new self that's being reborn. The crone and the mentor are about wisdom and learning. So you're in the space of learning right now, where you're gathering all of what you've learned thus far through your life experiences, and you're using this to proceed forward with more wisdom and insight about how things work and who you are. We have the judge here. The judge is all about, I was saying Judgment Day, wasn't I, for this group? Yeah. This is about how we judge our circumstances, and sometimes life is just, life is always going to test every single one of us. It's going to be put us in tricky circumstances so that we release judgment. Because what happens, sometimes it's easy to judge someone and be like, well, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Until you go through it. And then you're like, dang, why did I judge that person? It's not that easy, is it? It's not easy for anybody. So even me, I have to watch for that because I'm like, why don't people just do this? And to be honest, there's a reason, right? There's a reason why the Joker has his villain origin story. A lot of those people, those villains, had everything taken away from them, just this and that, lost this and that. And then they started creating like a huge victim story. that started owning their reality, and they're like, I'm the biggest victim. Life is so hard on me, and I'm going to take revenge. And yeah, we feel that way at times. So that's like the offering, like an offer, hands out, or like receiving help or generosity from the universe. And we have here like prayer hands, it looks like, or praise. And then I don't know what this are. Oh, that's a skull. It's about death. And that looks like an eye. Okay. I think this is about all of the ups and downs. It's about alchemizing our life experiences and seeing that we don't have to judge ourselves for what we're going through. We can embrace and make use of all of it. All right, let's go ahead and close out your reading, group number 3. All right, you guys got Leo. Oh, you guys got 5th house and Leo. Okay, what did I say? Express yourself. Definitely with that self and that rainbow. This is the time for you to express yourself. We get the Uranus, which is the intellectual genius. So this is about your neural connections, your thought process. How do you think? How do you perceive reality? And this is the time to get creative. This is the time where you're in a place where you're learning how to perceive reality different. It's a game. Have fun with it. Play with it a little bit more. And understand that there's something new being created out of this dynamic. The 5th house is also the house of intelligence as well. So, think about it. When you're creating things, I know personally for me, when I was creating things in college, I was learning so much so fast on other mediums to create with. Like we were doing a little bit of everything. We did plexiglass, we did clay, we did painting, we did oil, we did different techniques. So you're trying and you're experimenting with all of these different techniques, and you're trying all of these cool things, and you're seeing what works. You're seeing what you gravitate towards. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for you, group number 3, is you're in a place of kind of experimenting and seeing, what do I gravitate towards? What works for me? What doesn't work for me? How can I get creative with this? How can I embrace this empty room and things being outdated and not working? And then what do I do with this knowledge here? And it looks like you use it to upgrade yourself, is what I'm seeing. Is you use it to upgrade your thinking, you use it to upgrade your perception, you use it to upgrade your creative abilities, your creative talents that you have, to let them shine. So yeah, and this also feels quite random. Like it feels like, people are like, oh, this is how you can use your psychic gifts. I'm like, there's no cap. I don't believe in a cap. And this reality, however, what feels natural to you, that's what's most important, is just do whatever feels natural to you. And that's how reality is going to unfold in a very beautiful way. It's just, you just embrace what comes natural to you. Yeah. Definitely a time to just embrace your natural abilities, capabilities, talents. And it looks like prioritize the self as well, with that Leo energy coming through. Just prioritize you. You are the most important priority. I was just watching this other show called, sorry, I watch a lot of TV. Yeah, I know I do. One day I'll cut it out. I can actually live without TV just fine, because I can create characters in my head, and I do it all the time for fun. But I was watching this show called Surface on Apple TV, and in it's about generational toxicity, about the father and then the son, and then the father passed it on to his son. Like they passed on these toxic traits because they kept prioritizing their family expectations as opposed to what their heart really wanted. So group number 3, this is a final reminder: prioritize what truly aligns with you and your heart. Do not listen to anyone telling you what you should or shouldn't do. I've gotten to this point where I'm just like, dang, I really and I get told all the time, oh, you just don't care what I think. It's not that I don't care. I care more about what source thinks. I care more about what the divine thinks than what I think or you think. I'm all about doing what's right, because I, as a person, I have my biases. I'm flawed. I have my addictions that I'm drawn to that infiltrate and get in the way of me being able to progress in life. So I have to listen to a higher being source that's not getting power over me. I'm just letting it guide me little by little, and I'm exercising discernment by applying the knowledge slowly, and I'm trying to see if it works. That's it. And that's what I'm getting from this Uranus in the 5th house in Leo, is just see what works and what doesn't work. That's what I do. I don't give power to something outside of me. I'm like, hey, give me some guidance. What do you think I should do? And then I think about it and I'm like, do I want to do this? Because if I do it either way, it's my choice. I'm accountable for whatever I do. And I'm accountable for the consequences that unfold afterwards. And sometimes part of the consequences I've had to deal with when I follow my true heart soul path, I've had to get pushback from other people put opinions onto it or projecting opinions onto my choices, because these people don't know what it's like to choose themselves. They don't know what it's like to choose freedom, liberation. They don't know what it's like to choose happiness. They have no idea. So they're just judging me based off of their own limited perception of reality, and that's understandable. I try to have compassion and patience for that. But sometimes I'm just like, well, dang, it's not my fault. Like, you don't get it. You just need to get with it, man. I'm a living example of how things can work out. And they're just like, are you sure? I don't know. By the end of the day, people just have to see it for themselves. It's not enough to see someone else doing it. They have to want it for themselves. Okay, that's going to be the end of your reading. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Group number 3, like, subscribe to support. Let me know if this resonated. Have a beautiful day or evening. Bye! Dare to be, dare to believe, do your healing in your creation.